Welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm your host, Ellen Barrett, and we have a great show for you today. And we are starting off with a familiar face. You may recognize her from last week with the Dairyland Dolls and the Mad Rollin' Dolls. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
This is Marie Hemming, and we had a different name for you last time. You had your Mad Rollin' Dolls name. So this is your, I guess,
my real name.
Your real identity, right? Your real identity.
Yeah, not my secret one, yeah.
There you go. And you are the owner and also a hairdresser over at Love and Light Hairdressing.
Correct.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
And I'm really excited to talk about this topic because I always think it's a lot of fun to, forecast those fall trends and winter trends even, and, kind of prepare for those seasons changing. We've had some great weather here so far this fall, but it's going to cool off a little bit. The leaves are going to start to change. It's my absolute favorite season. So I want to talk about the two biggest trends you're seeing for hair color this fall season.
So what we're seeing with hair color trends is a lot of people are really into the rose gold thing with their blonde hair. So we're looking at dusty rose and lavender for the fashion colors. And of course the classic going a little bit more reddish to reflect the fall colors for our more conservative classic color.
I love that. You said lilac?
Oh yeah, lavender and lilac. And a dusty rose, it's like a mauve tone, yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up. That sounds really fun though, if you're looking to do something different, but still some really pretty colors.
Oh, beautiful, yeah.
Awesome. And so when you do a color like that, that's maybe a little bit more fun, a little bit brighter and it really pops, how do you maintain that? Because I think that's one of the reasons why people may shy away from those things.
Well, it can be pretty low maintenance if you have a color depositing conditioner. So most people really struggle with it fading.
Yeah.
So we carry a color depositing conditioner called Fabuloso, and they can use it at home, and that keeps their color nice and bright. And then not washing very often and using your dry shampoos, that would really help prevent fading too.
That's always so tough for me, and I always try to do it. You try to stretch out those shampoos. Don't do it if you can, and stretch it out. And really, it's probably important, too, to get the most out of, you're paying to have this beautiful hair product, this beautiful masterpiece, but you want to get the most out of it.
Yeah, and they can check out, we have a video on our Facebook page. It's Second Day Hair, because if you've ever struggled with how to use dry shampoo or how do you get that look, even though you wake up in the morning, your hair looks crazy, we have that video on our Facebook page.
I'm going to have to check that out.
Please do, yeah.
I love it. Now, how about men's hair? What's new?
Men's hair is always really exciting because guys are getting a little bit more comfortable with fashion.
Yeah.
We're seeing really high fades, so really big disconnection. We've been seeing that a little bit this season anyway, but men are getting a little bit more aggressive. You're seeing a little bit more shaved lines. And then reverse of that is longer, more razored shapes. So men are more comfortable with longer shapes too. So it's kind of like extremes.
Yeah. Now, when you say razor shapes, what do you mean by that?
That long surfer kind of look, but and then they can go to business using different products. So they have a little bit more fun. They can have a more casual look, and then switch up the product and have a more business look.
It sounds like a lot of fun
to
be able to change it up. You're not just going to be stuck with a buzz cut or something like that. And so I know I've looked up some of your pictures on your Facebook page, and you guys are just doing some really cool stuff,
fun,
really unique things. And so what can people expect when they see hairdressers at Love and Light?
We have a lot of fun together.
Yeah.
So it's more of a community. We talk to each other. We get to know each other's clients. You'll see bright colors, a lot of laughter, and really good music. And good hair, of course. Yeah.
Always, right? And what product lines do you guys carry?
We currently carry Evo. It's an Australian product line, and they feature Fabuloso, our color depositing conditioner. And we also have Davines, and it's a truly environmentally friendly line. You can check them out. They're from Parma, Italy, and they actually can say they have carbon neutral and zero carbon lines too, which is pretty impressive for a hair product company.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So some really good stuff you guys are doing over there. Awesome. And I have to ask you too, your name, Love and Light Hairdressing. How did you come up with the name? What's your mission and what does it mean to you?
So it's something I would always say to people when I see people struggling and be like, sending love and light. So it just came to me, and we wanted to be part of the community and to be a solution, not just for hair problems, but like be there for our community too. We do a lot of volunteer work. We have a free little library for school supplies for teachers, and we also work with the Road Home. So we try to do our mission statement, be good, all over the place. So yeah.
Fantastic stuff, not only hair, but everything you guys do. I love it. Again, this is Marie Hemming with Love and Light Hairdressing. Thanks for being with us today. And we'll be back with more Talk of the Town right after this. Thanks. Welcome back to Talk of the Town, and I am joined now by our news partner moving forward. This is Marianne Garidi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And now we've had you on quite a few times, and I really like that we cover different topics, not only within your organization, but for all people to apply. Really, all of our viewers, they can always learn something. And today we're talking about downsizing. But before we get into that, first, I just want to talk about what kind of company is moving forward. If somebody's tuning in and maybe they're wondering, what is this organization all about?
Sure, absolutely. So moving forward, it's a company, we're actually an A+ certified senior move management company. And essentially, we just help families take the stress off downsizing and moving.
I love it. A simple mission, but a very helpful one, something that a lot of people can benefit from. And how is the best way to find out if you can help folks going through that situation, thinking if they could use your services?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way it works is usually, we'll get a phone call from either a client or a family member, and we always do a free 1-hour consultation.
That's so nice.
Yeah, so we kind of sit down with them first and figure out, what their plan is, if they're moving from a house to a condo or a senior living apartment. And then we walk through the house and we kind of see what they have. And so we just then discuss like how much it would cost to have us come in and help them from start to finish, to have them move and get their house ready to be put on the market.
Now, when you guys are working with seniors, are there children usually around too?
Sometimes, yes,
Okay.
sometimes they are, but I would say, we get called a lot by the children because if they're living out of state or they have a very busy job, then really they can't be there to do all the hands-on work with their parents. So we usually communicate a lot with emails, pictures, with the kids, and then work directly with their parents.
And when you're moving somebody out of maybe a house they've been in maybe their whole life or a significant portion of their life, like you said, that's a lot of work. And even if you do have the time, it may be too much for one person to handle. And you guys have really got it down to a science and an art. So I think that's a really helpful aspect as well. And so does your staff work one-on-one with the clients, or do you have multiple staff members who come to each project?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question too. So basically, we have a few different parts of the project. So we do a lot of one-on-one where somebody just, one-on-one with the client in different rooms of their house, deciding what to bring. And then typically we'll kind of get things ready to be packed up, and I'll bring in a few people, maybe 3 ladies. I have wonderful staff, so they're all just amazing.
Yeah.
So they'll come in and just kind of do the packing process. And then I have a couple of guys and a lady also who helps haul the items sometimes to their new apartment. And then we all kind of work together on that move day. So maybe there's 5 of us actually unpacking them to get them all settled in on their actual move day.
It's really a team effort.
It is.
Sounds like.
Absolutely, yes.
How would you say a typical project lasts to move somebody from start to finish?
Sure. Although we do get a lot of rush calls saying, I need to move my mom Monday. And so when we just, everything gets put on fast paced. But usually I would say from the time we go to a house, even like a 3,000 square foot house, we could definitely have our client move, the house emptied, ready for the market within 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
so
seems
that
really
happens a lot.
fast. Very fast. Now, what advice would you give to folks watching at home who are maybe watching this and thinking of maybe there's a senior in their life who could use their services?
Sure, absolutely. And I think it's never too early to start thinking of the process, thinking about what you can live without right now, kind of start downsizing, giving items to charities, to your kids. It's great if you have a china set, you might want to hand that off to your daughter, or, so go ahead and try to do whatever you can, even years before you think you're going to move into a senior apartment. Because again, if something happens that happens and it's unfortunate, it's much harder. So if you kind of have prevented that rush move, it's much easier. So starting early, yeah.
Absolutely. And I always like your moving tips and advice because, like I said, I think they can apply to everybody if you're moving or maybe thinking you should downsize. And if you just want to touch on quickly before we go, kind of your process of how you help people decide what to keep and what to give away, because I think it's super interesting yet a really simple mindset, you know?
Absolutely. And as we're going through things, and some things are super easy, like I'm done with that, I don't want it. But other things that are kind of difficult, it's just that borderline, question. And so it's something we just tell people, if you don't love it, if you could live without it and you could easily replace it, then we say it's probably a good time to part with it and give it to somebody who can use it at the moment, such as coats, blankets, shoes that we all kind of accumulate, and maybe we just don't need them all. So just, if you really don't love it and you don't have that attachment, it's easy to let it go. Whenever you could do that, there's so many people who can use those items.
Absolutely, and such a great mindset, and really pass it along to somebody else who can use it.
Right.
Thank you so much for being
Thank
here,
you for having
Marianne.
me.
We appreciate it, and again, this is our news partner moving forward, and we'll be back with more Talk of the Town right after
Thank
this.
you.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town, and I am joined now by our news partner, Phil Anderson for U.S. Senate. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Ellen.
And today we're going to cover privacy.
Yes.
And it's, a really big topic, a lot of layers, but I want to start off with, do we have a constitutional right to privacy?
We do, although the Constitution doesn't mention privacy specifically.
Sure.
Certainly the Fourth Amendment in its statement that we should be free from illegal searches and seizures implies that. And I think it's safe to say that the founders, that wrote the Constitution and our Declaration, intended for us to have a right to privacy based on their general idea of we being free citizens and free to conduct our own affairs as we choose. I think that makes sense.
Do you think that right is being violated?
It's certainly being violated every single day. The most common ways that people think about privacy invasions are things like internet privacy, which of course has been a big issue over the last few years, with data being farmed and
Sure.
given by Google and whoever else to the government. Other things that are the way that the government invades our privacy in terms of even telling us how we should eat, what we should eat, drink, and smoke. Those are things that violate our privacy. As well as who we should marry. That's been a big issue recently as well. And all of those things are ways that the government, for whatever reason, thinks that they have the right to invade our privacy when, in fact, they don't.
That's really interesting because I think you're right. People, when you think about privacy, you think about your cell phone and your computer.
Sure.
But there are many dimensions to privacy and how people lead their lives, really. Very interesting. And so how do you think our right to privacy works with the need for police, their need to investigate crimes and terrorism?
Well, especially since 9/11, but to a certain extent before that, there's been this justification put forward by Democrats and Republicans alike, for the most part, that we need to give up some of our privacy for the sake of being safe. Now, we've seen over the last 15 years that they haven't used what we've given them in terms of our privacy very well. We've still had domestic terrorist incidents, and we haven't been able to prevent them. And we haven't had, really any increase in our general ability to protect ourselves at all. So the whole trade-off is kind of ridiculous. If it were effective, that might be an argument. But I would argue, and I think any libertarian would argue, that the right to privacy trumps defense in a certain way. It trumps that safety. If we can be held hostage by these anti-privacy regulations and rules, then we're not a free people anymore. And we need to be able to exercise that in order to be the people that we are made to be.
And I know you kind of touched on this as well, but how does the Democratic Party and the Republican Party kind of see this issue of privacy?
Well, they've both attacked it, generally in different ways. Republicans have been happy to tell us what to eat, drink, or smoke, who to marry over the years. Democrats have been involved in our personal finances. They're not public, they're private. What I make is the fruit of my labor. I should be able to dispose of that how I choose, and that's not been the philosophy put forward by Democrats. But in terms of internet privacy and the Fourth Amendment, they both violated that willingly over the course of the last 15 years with this idea that it's for our safety or for defense or counterterrorism or whatever. But they're both happy to do that. Neither party really represents a true free person ideology anymore, the way that libertarians do.
And so kind of like you just touched on right there, how does the Libertarian Party differ from those two main parties?
Well, we see, as we've mentioned in previous Talk of the Towns, that rights reside in the individual and can only be delegated to the government by consent. So there's no general right by a government, by a majority of people, to invade our privacy. That's something that has to be delegated individual by individual to whoever, whether they decide to use Google, whether you decide to submit information to the government or be subject to searches or seizures or whatever. Those are all things that reside with the individual, but Republicans and Democrats see it as something that they can, just by majority vote or in an emergency, so-called emergency, invade our privacy in those ways.
Now, Phil, we've only got about 30 seconds here, but I want to hear about what you plan to do as senator on this issue.
Well, I'm going to fight like crazy to get rid of any government spying on through the internet, through data buys from Google or whoever. And in regards to the other things as well, we should be free to eat, drink, smoke what we want, marry who we want. All of those things that are essential to a free person need to be returned to the free person and not be infringed on by the government. So in all those ways, I'm going to always steadily fight for those things in the United States Senate as a matter of principle.
Phil Anderson for U.S. Senate, thank you for being with us today and talking about this topic.
Excellent. Thanks, Ellen.
We'll be back with more here on Talk of the Town right after this. Welcome back to Talk of the Town, and I'm going to touch now on a really cool event that's coming up here in the Madison community. And with me now I have Jerry Grogg, and you are with the Madison Trust for Historic Preservation. You're the tour, can't say that word today, tour committee chair. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, I'm very pleased to be here.
We're excited to have you on the show. This sounds like a really cool event. It's coming up on October 1st. And so it's the UW-Madison's agricultural campus, and it's going to be a tour, and kind of sounds pretty interesting, not just a tour of the facility, but kind of about its impact on the community and really in Wisconsin with different scientific discoveries. So it sounds like it'll be just a really great experience. First, though, I want to know about the reason for creating this tour in particular.
The impetus for this was initiated by Madison Trust volunteer member Peter Gottlieb.
Sure.
He wanted to share with the public the historically significant buildings on the University of Wisconsin-Madison's College of Agriculture campus, and also the research and teaching that has gone on there. This was, looking at the research, was actually the first expression of the Wisconsin idea. And that's the idea that whatever research and teaching goes on at the university should be extended throughout the state to benefit the people, the residents of Wisconsin.
A great idea, and like you said, really the Wisconsin idea. So a really important mission that has been applied to a lot of academic facilities in our state. And what can somebody expect to see on the tour if they come tag along?
We'll be looking at 8 different buildings on campus. These buildings were all designed and built between the 1890s and 1917. This was the period when the College of Agriculture really took off and became a leader in farming nationally. We'll see on these buildings architectural styles. Some of them will be Queen Anne, Richardsonian Romanesque Revival, a big long term.
Ooh.
But docents leading the tours will describe the characteristics of these. There'll be some craftsman buildings, some Beaux-Arts classical. Let's see, I mentioned Queen Anne.
Yep.
Also, Tudor Revival
Sure.
and Norman. And the Norman architecture is interesting because it's the half timbering that was seen on so many farms in Normandy, France. Also a big farming area, dairy area of Europe.
So will people get to go inside the buildings as well?
We will go inside one building, and that's the Stock Pavilion. That building was designed and built in 1909 as an exhibition space for farmers wanting to show their horses and other draft animals. It's also been used for rodeo shows and for cattle and horse judging events. I think of all the buildings that people will see on the tour, the Stock Pavilion is probably the most familiar because it seats 2,000 people,
Wow.
and for when it was built, was the largest public auditorium in the city. The shows that have gone on there, it also has exceptional acoustics, which nobody thought it would have, or it wasn't planned for that. But because of its good acoustics, there have been many speeches given there. Harry Truman campaigned for president there, as did Bill Clinton. Martin Luther King spoke there, and there have been numerous concerts there by orchestras such as Duke Ellington, and then later concerts by Pete Seeger and Joan Baez. So we'll go into that
incredible.
building.
Wow. And so if somebody is thinking, I have to, get in on this, where can they sign up and get tickets?
Right. The easiest way is to go to our website, madisonpreservation.org, and there's a link there to this October 1st agriculture campus tour. The tickets are selling for $30 for the public, $20 for UW students, because we'd love to have especially College of Agriculture students come on the tour, and $25 for our members. The tours will be timed, so the first tour will take off at 10 o'clock, the last one at 2 o'clock. They're each 90 minutes long, so every half hour a new tour will start out, led by a docent. And at the end of the tour participants are welcome to go to the Babcock Dairy Store and to purchase an ice cream cone.
Definitely that ice cream, something you don't want to miss out on whenever you come to Madison or the UW area. And you're not going to want to miss this event either. So again, Jerry Grogg, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing this event.
Thank you, Ellen.
And thank you all for watching Talk of the Town. You can find us next time only on Wisconsin's 57.